I clearly recall the moment I received that message from Candy. It was a short text, just a few words, but it arrived during a time when I was riding the high waves of success. I had just secured the biggest contract of my career, a deal that would not only guarantee our future, but also bring us everything we had ever dreamed of. However, her message was different, cold and distant, lacking the excitement I had anticipated. It was merely a reminder about dinner plans, devoid of any interest in the incredible news I wanted to share. Something felt off, but I dismissed it, assuming she was just busy. In the weeks that followed, I began noticing subtle changes. Candy's smile appeared forced. Her phone was constantly on silent, and she started coming home later than usual, claiming work was keeping her late. Still, I trusted her. We had been married for 5 years, and I loved her deeply, believing she felt the same about me. Then one day, I came home early, a rare event for me. The house was eerily quiet, almost too quiet. As I walked into our bedroom, I saw her phone blinking with a notification. The message was from someone named Mark, a name I didn't recognize. I hesitated, but eventually picked up her phone and unlocked it, something I had never done before. What I discovered made my stomach churn. The messages were explicit, filled with passion and longing, words she hadn't spoken to me in months. The last message read, "Meet me at the usual spot, 6 p.m. A chill ran down my spine. I needed to know. I had to see for myself. That evening, I decided to follow her. The clock ticked relentlessly, each second a reminder that I was stepping into a reality I could never unsee or unknow. By 6 p.m., I was consumed by a mix of dread, anger, and heartbreak, a storm of emotions I had never experienced before. Candy left the house at 5:30 sharp. I followed her, keeping a safe distance. She took a route unfamiliar to me, heading toward the outskirts of the city, far from her usual destinations. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that my knuckles turned white. My heart pounded like a war drum in my chest. She pulled into the parking lot of a small, unremarkable motel. A wave of nausea hit me, but I swallowed it down, forcing myself to stay composed. I parked a few cars away and watched as she stepped out, glancing around nervously. That's when I saw him, Mark. He was tall, confident, and had a smile sharp enough to cut glass. He walked over to her and, without hesitation, pulled her into his arms and kissed her. I froze, my breath catching in my throat. I watched as they embraced, oblivious to the world around them. I couldn't believe it. The woman I loved, the one I had promised to spend my life with, was in the arms of another man, right before my eyes. Rage unlike anything I had ever felt surged through me. My first instinct was to confront them, to demand an explanation, but something held me back. I needed more than a confrontation. I needed the truth. They disappeared into a room, and I waited. Minutes turned into hours, each second stretching into eternity, each moment twisting the knife deeper into my heart. Finally, they emerged, looking satisfied and at ease. I followed them as they parted ways, Mark heading to his car and Candy returning to hers. When she arrived home, I was already there, sitting in the living room, waiting. She entered with a smile, but it quickly faded when she saw me. Her eyes darted nervously, and guilt was written all over her face. "Where were you?" I asked, my voice calm, though my hands trembled. She hesitated, searching for an excuse, but she knew it was pointless to lie. "Tim, I cut her off. Don't. I know. I saw you with him." Her face went pale, and tears welled up in her eyes. "Tim, please. It's not what you think." I laughed bitterly, feeling a sharp pain in my chest. "Not what I think. I watched you, Candy. I saw you with him. How long has this been going on?" She broke down, her voice trembling as she sobbed. 3 months. It's been 3 months. 3 months. 90 days of deceit. 90 days of lies. The room seemed to spin around me. Why, Candy? Why him? She couldn't meet my gaze, her shoulders shaking with every sob. I don't know. I felt lonely. You were always so busy, with work, with your contracts, with everything but me. I needed someone to make me feel wanted. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to rage against the betrayal. But instead, a numbing void crept over me, swallowing every other feeling. And you didn't think to talk to me, to tell me how you felt. She wiped her tears and replied in a desperate voice. I was afraid, Tim. Afraid you wouldn't care, that you'd just brush me off like you always do. Her words stung deeper than any wound could. It was then I realized we had both been living a lie, trapped in a marriage that had lost its way long before Mark entered the picture. But knowing this didn't make her betrayal hurt any less. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. Candy, I need time to think. I can't do this right now. She reached out, but I stepped back. Tim, please. I love you. I want to fix this. I turned away from her. I don't know if we can, Candy. I don't know if I can. And with that, I walked out, leaving her standing there as her sobs echoed through the empty house. I drove aimlessly for hours, my mind racing and my heart heavy with a mix of anger, betrayal, and an aching sadness. Memories flooded my thoughts. Every smile, every laugh, every plan we had made for the future. How had it all gone so wrong? How had we ended up here? Eventually, I found myself at a quiet overlook, staring at the city lights below. I had no idea how long I sat there, lost in thought, when my phone buzzed. It was a message from Jake, my boss, congratulating me once again on the big contract. A deal that now felt meaningless, a hollow accomplishment in a life that had lost its direction. I thought about Candy's words, the look in her eyes, filled with guilt and desperation. Maybe she was right. Maybe I had been too absorbed in work, too focused on my career. But did that justify what she had done? Did it make her betrayal any easier to accept? I shook my head, trying to clear the fog of confusion. I knew I couldn't stay out there forever. I had to go back, to face whatever remained in my life, no matter how shattered it felt. When I finally returned home, it was late. The house was dark except for a faint light in the living room. I found Candy sitting on the couch, her eyes red and swollen from crying. She looked up as I entered, her expression a mix of hope and fear. Tim, I thought you might not come back, she whispered. I sighed, feeling the weight of the day pressing down on me. I needed time to think, I said, my voice flat. She nodded hesitantly. And did you decide anything? I took a deep breath, searching for the right words. Candy, I'm not going to pretend I can just forgive you. What you did broke something inside me. But I also know I might have played a part in this. Maybe I wasn't there for you the way I should have been. She moved closer, her eyes pleading. Tim, I'm so sorry. I never wanted to hurt you. I just felt so lost, so alone. I held up my hand to stop her. I know, but that doesn't change what happened. I need time, Candy. I need to figure out if I can ever trust you again, if I can ever see you the same way. Tears streamed down her face as she nodded. I understand. I'll do whatever it takes, Tim. I'll go to counseling. I'll cut off all contact with Mark. Just, please, give us a chance. A lump formed in my throat, a deep, painful ache. I want to believe we can fix this, Candy. I really do. But I don't know if I can. I don't know if we can. She reached for my hand, and for a moment, I let her hold it. Her touch was familiar, comforting even. But it felt different now, tainted by the knowledge of what she had done. I'm going to stay with a friend for a while, I said finally, pulling my hand away. I need some space to think. Her face crumpled as fresh tears fell. I understand, she whispered. I walked to our bedroom and packed a small bag with a few essentials. As I moved through the house, every corner, every photograph, every piece of furniture reminded me of the life we had built together. A life that now felt so fragile, so uncertain. At the door, I paused and looked back at Candy one last time. "I hope you understand how much this has hurt me," I said softly. "And I hope you know that no matter what happens, I did love you. I still do, in some way," she sobbed, covering her face with her hands. "I know, Tim. I'm so sorry. I love you too. Please, please come back to me." I didn't reply. I simply turned and walked out, closing the door behind me. I didn't know where I was going or what the future held, but I knew one thing. I needed time. Time to heal, time to think, and maybe, just maybe, time to forgive. The next few days were a blur. I stayed with my friend Alex, who offered me his spare room without asking too many questions. He could see the turmoil on my face and knew better than to pry. I was grateful for the silence, for the space to think. I replayed everything in my mind, every moment of our relationship, trying to pinpoint where it all went wrong. Was it the long hours at the office? The late nights spent working on proposals and presentations? The times I told her I was too tired to go out, too busy to listen? I wanted to identify the exact moment we began to drift apart, but it all felt like a slow, inevitable slide, one neither of us noticed until it was too late. Candy texted me every day. Her messages were brief, asking if I was okay, if I needed anything. I couldn't bring myself to respond. I wasn't ready. I didn't know if I ever would be. Then one afternoon, I got a call from Jake, my boss. "Tim, I know you're going through something personal," he said, his voice careful. "But I need you back in the office. We've got a lot riding on this contract, and we can't afford to have you off the grid right now." I sighed, feeling the weight of his words. He was right. My job, my career, everything I had worked so hard for was hanging in the balance. I couldn't let it slip away. "I'll be in tomorrow," I replied, realizing it was time to face reality. The next day, I walked into the office, forcing a smile as I greeted my colleagues. But inside, I felt hollow. I buried myself in work, trying to lose myself in numbers and negotiations, hoping the routine would distract me from the chaos in my personal life. It worked to an extent. I managed to get through the day without thinking about Candy, until I saw Mark. He was standing outside the building, waiting for someone. My heart pounded as I recognized him. The man who had come between us, who had held my wife in his arms. I didn't know what came over me. One moment I was in the lobby, and the next I was outside, walking toward him. He looked up, surprised, then smirked, as if expecting this confrontation. "Mark, right?" I said, my voice tight with controlled anger. He nodded, the smirk still plastered on his face. "You must be Tim, Candy's husband." Rage surged through me, but I forced myself to stay calm. "I don't know what you think you're doing, but I want you to stay away from my wife," I said, my tone low and steady. He chuckled, crossing his arms. "Your wife? Are you sure about that? Because from where I'm standing, she doesn't seem too happy with you." My fists clenched at my sides, but I held myself back. "You don't know anything about our marriage," I said through gritted teeth, "and you have no right to interfere." He shrugged. "Too relaxed for my liking." "Maybe not. But Candy, she came to me. She needed something you weren't giving her." "That's not my fault, Tim. That's yours." His words hit like a punch to the gut. I wanted to yell, to scream, to make him feel a fraction of the pain I was carrying, but I knew better than to play into his hands. Instead, I stepped closer, my voice firm. "Listen to me, Mark. Whatever happened between you two, it's over now. If you come near her again, if you so much as text her, you'll regret it." His smirk faltered slightly, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Is that a threat?" "It's a promise," I replied, turning on my heel and walking away, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew this wasn't over, but I had made my point. I needed to regain control of my life, started with the people who had invaded it. Back in the office, I felt a strange mix of emotions, anger, hurt, and determination. I knew I had a long road ahead, but for the first time in days, I felt a spark of something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe, just maybe, I could find a way through this. A way to heal. A way to move forward, with Candy or without her. That night, I called her. I heard the tremble in her voice when she picked up. "Tim, we need to talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Okay," she whispered. "When?" "Tomorrow," I replied. "Let's meet somewhere neutral." There was a pause. Then she agreed. The park. The one by the lake. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. "Yeah, that'll work." Noon. I hung up, a strange calm settling over me. Tomorrow, I would face Candy again. Tomorrow, we would begin to figure out if there was anything left to salvage. The next day, I arrived at the park early. The sun was high, casting long shadows through the trees. The air was crisp, the kind that makes you feel alive but also reminds you of everything unsettled inside. I chose a bench near the lake, a spot where we had once sat together, laughing and dreaming about the future. Now the park felt like an entirely different place, a battleground where I would have to confront the person I thought I knew better than anyone. I watched the water ripple in the breeze, trying to calm my nerves. I didn't know exactly what I wanted to say or what I needed to hear from her. I only knew that we had to face this head-on, to decide if there was a way forward, or if this was the end. I saw her approaching in the distance, her steps slow and hesitant. She looked fragile, as if a single gust of wind could carry her away. My heart twisted painfully at the sight, a mix of love, hurt, and uncertainty washing over me. She stopped a few feet away, unsure whether to sit down or keep her distance.
"Hi," she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hi," I replied, nodding toward the bench beside me. "You can sit." She sat down slowly, leaving a space between us, a chasm that felt as wide as the ocean. For a few moments, we just sat there in silence, listening to the sounds of the park, the distant laughter of children, the rustle of leaves in the wind, the soft lapping of the lake against the shore. Finally, she spoke. "Tim, I'm so sorry. I don't even know where to start." I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. "Start with the truth, Candy. I need to know everything. No more lies, no more hiding. Just tell me, why?" She nodded, her eyes fixed on her hands, which twisted nervously in her lap. "I know I've hurt you, and I don't expect you to forgive me. But I want you to understand. I felt so alone, Tim. You were always busy, always focused on work. I felt like I was invisible, like I didn't matter anymore. I felt a pang of guilt, but I pushed it aside." "So, you turned to him?" Tears welled up in her eyes, and she nodded. "I know it was wrong. I know I should have talked to you, tried to work things out. But I was afraid. Afraid you wouldn't care. Afraid you'd just move on without me." I sighed, running a hand through my hair. "Candy, I might have been distant, but I was always here. I never stopped loving you. I never stopped caring about you." She looked at me then, her eyes filled with regret. "I know, Tim. And I hate myself for what I did. I wish I could take it back, but I can't. All I can do is ask for your forgiveness. Ask for a chance to make things right." I stared at the lake, my thoughts a tangled mess. "Do you still love him?" I asked, the question slipping out before I could stop myself. Her eyes widened, and she shook her head quickly. "No, Tim. It was never about love. It was about feeling wanted. But it was a mistake. A terrible mistake. You're the one I love. You always have been." Her words hung in the air between us, heavy and uncertain. I wanted to believe her, to trust that she was telling the truth. But doubt lingered. "How do I know this won't happen again?" I asked, my voice quieter now. "How do I know you won't turn to someone else the next time you feel lonely?" She reached out, her hand trembling as it took mine. "I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Tim. Counseling, therapy, whatever you need. I know I've broken your trust, and I'll spend the rest of my life trying to rebuild it if you'll let me." I felt the warmth of her touch, familiar yet foreign, and I realized I had a choice to make. I could walk away, leave all of this behind, and try to start fresh. Or I could try to forgive, to heal, to rebuild what was broken. I don't know if I'm ready to forgive, I said slowly, but I'm willing to try. I'm willing to take it one day at a time and see where that leads us. A tear slipped down her cheek, but this time, a small, hopeful smile appeared on her lips. That's all I'm asking for, Tim. A chance. Just a chance. I nodded, feeling a weight lift off my shoulders, just a little. We'll take it slow. We'll go to counseling. We'll talk. Really talk this time. But I need you to understand something, Candy. If I ever feel like you're hiding something from me again, if I ever feel like you're being dishonest, I'm done. No more second chances. She nodded vigorously, her grip tightening on my hand. I promise, Tim. No more secrets. No more lies. I'll be an open book. I squeezed her hand, feeling a small spark of hope flicker inside me. Okay, I said softly. Let's try. We sat there for a while longer, the silence between us no longer heavy, but filled with the possibility of something new. It wouldn't be easy. It wouldn't be quick. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like maybe, just maybe, we could find our way back to each other. Over the next few weeks, Candy and I took those tentative first steps toward healing. We attended counseling sessions where we spoke honestly, sometimes painfully, about our fears, our mistakes, and our hopes. It was hard. Harder than I had ever imagined. Laying our broken pieces on the table and trying to fit them back together felt like an impossible task some days. The weight of what had happened often threatened to crush me, and I wondered if I could ever truly forgive her. But there were also moments of clarity, moments of understanding, when I saw in her eyes the same woman I had fallen in love with. The woman who had stood by me through thick and thin, who had been there for all the highs and lows. I realized she was hurting too, feeling the loss just as deeply as I did. Gradually, things began to change. We started to reconnect, not just as husband and wife, but as friends, as partners. We spent time together, talking late into the night about everything and nothing. We went for walks in the park, cooked dinner together, laughed at old jokes, and created new ones. Slowly, we began to find each other again in the small, everyday moments that we had once taken for granted. I won't pretend it was easy or that everything magically fell back into place. There were still days when doubt crept in, when memories of her betrayal haunted me. But with each passing day, those moments grew fewer and farther between. The anger and pain started to fade, replaced by something softer, something that felt like understanding and, maybe, even forgiveness. One evening, as we sat on the porch watching the sun dip below the horizon, Candy turned to me. Her eyes were filled with a mixture of hope and vulnerability. "Tim," she said softly, "do you think we'll ever be okay again? Truly okay?" I looked at her for a long moment, then took her hand in mine. "I think we're getting there," I replied. "I think we're learning to be okay in a new way, in a way we never knew before. And maybe that's enough." She smiled, a tear slipping down her cheek. But this time, it wasn't a tear of sadness. It was a tear of relief, of gratitude. "I love you, Tim," she whispered. "I always have, and I always will." I squeezed her hand, feeling a warmth spread through my chest. "I love you too, Candy," I said. "And I'm willing to keep trying, to keep fighting for us, for as long as it takes." We sat there together, our hands intertwined, watching as the stars began to appear one by one in the darkening sky. The path ahead was still uncertain, still filled with challenges. But for the first time in a long time, I felt a sense of peace. I knew we had a long way to go, but I also knew that we were both willing to walk that path side by side, no matter how hard it might be. And for now, that was enough.